There is a small, unassuming bottle sitting somewhere in your bathroom right now. It probably has a brown or dark plastic exterior. You likely bought it months ago for a minor cut or scrape. Since then, it has just been sitting there, completely forgotten. That bottle is hydrogen peroxide, and chances are you have no idea how powerful it actually is. Every single year, households across America collectively spend billions of dollars on pest control. Some estimates put that figure at over $5 billion annually. That is an enormous amount of money flowing toward exterminators, chemical sprays, and professional treatment plants. Many of those services are genuinely necessary. Some pest problems are serious enough that a licensed professional is the only right answer. But here is a truth that does not get talked about enough. A large portion of everyday pest problems, the ones that frustrate you on a weekly basis, can be addressed with something that costs roughly $1 at your local pharmacy. That something is hydrogen peroxide, and the more you learn about it, the more you will wonder why you ever spent money on anything else. So what exactly is hydrogen peroxide? At its core, it is almost identical to water. The chemical formula for water is H2O. Hydrogen peroxide is H2O2, just one extra oxygen atom. That is the only difference. Yet that single addition changes everything about how it interacts with the world around it. When hydrogen peroxide breaks down, it does so completely cleanly. It splits apart into water and oxygen gas. No toxic byproducts, no harmful residue, no fumes that linger in your home for hours. This is what makes it so uniquely valuable as a household tool. The science behind why it works on pests is genuinely fascinating. Scientists classify hydrogen peroxide as a strong oxidizing agent. When it contacts organic matter, an insect's body, a mold colony, a cluster of bacteria, it releases what are called reactive oxygen species. These are highly unstable molecules that immediately attack and break down cell membranes, proteins, and genetic material. In practical terms, it destroys living organisms at the most fundamental biological level. And once it has done its job, it vanishes into harmless water and air. There is nothing left behind to worry about. So why is this not common knowledge? Why are people still spending hundreds of dollars on professional services when a $1 solution exists? The honest answer is that there is very little financial incentive for the pest control industry to advertise it. A company charging you $200 for a treatment is not eager to tell you that a bottle from the drugstore might handle the same problem. With that context in mind, here is a detailed breakdown of the many ways hydrogen peroxide can protect your home, your garden, and your family without breaking the bank. Point 1. Ending the fungus gnat nightmare in your houseplants. If you have ever owned a houseplant, there is a reasonable chance you have encountered fungus gnats. These are the tiny, dark-colored flies that seem to appear out of nowhere and hover persistently near your plant pots. They are slow flyers and completely harmless to humans, but they are extraordinarily annoying. The bigger issue is what is happening beneath the soil surface. Fungus gnats do not just fly around randomly. They breed in moist, organic soil. A single female fungus gnat is capable of laying somewhere in the range of 200 eggs in a single week. Within days, those eggs hatch into larvae that feed on the organic matter and, in some cases, the fine roots of your plants. This is how a minor irritant becomes a full-blown infestation almost overnight. Most people's instinct is to run to the garden center and buy an insecticidal spray. Some people call pest control. Both of those options cost significantly more than they need to. A hydrogen peroxide soil drench is remarkably effective against fungus gnat larvae. The preparation is simple. Take the standard 3% hydrogen peroxide available at any pharmacy or grocery store. Mix 1 part of it with 4 parts of plain water. Before applying, allow the top layer of your plant's soil to dry out somewhat. Then water the plant using this diluted mixture. You will observe fizzing and bubbling at the soil surface. This is the chemical reaction occurring as the hydrogen peroxide decomposes. Simultaneously, larvae and eggs hiding in the soil are being destroyed on contact. There is an added benefit worth mentioning. The oxygen released during the decomposition process is beneficial for root health. Your plant actually benefits slightly from the treatment. The larvae die, the soil gets aerated, and you spend almost nothing accomplishing both goals. Apply this treatment once, then repeat it about a week later. 2 rounds is usually sufficient to break the entire reproductive cycle and eliminate the infestation. Point 2. Defeating mold and mildew. More effectively than bleach, This is one of the most surprising facts about hydrogen peroxide, even for people who already use it regularly. When it comes to eliminating mold and mildew, hydrogen peroxide actually outperforms bleach in most real-world household situations. That statement tends to raise eyebrows. Bleach is what people reach for automatically when they spot mold. It is strongly associated with disinfection and cleanliness in the public imagination. So how can hydrogen peroxide do a better job? The answer lies in the nature of the surfaces where mold grows. Bleach is highly effective on smooth, non-porous materials: glass, glazed tile, stainless steel. Bleach kills mold on these surfaces quickly and thoroughly. But in most bathrooms and kitchens, mold does not limit itself to those surfaces. Mold grows on grout. It grows on wood. It grows on drywall, caulk, and unglazed ceramics. These are all porous materials. Bleach, due to its molecular structure, cannot penetrate deeply into pores. It kills the surface-level mold, but leaves the underlying root structures, called hyphae, alive inside the material. Within a short time, the mold regrows from those living roots. Hydrogen peroxide behaves differently. Its effervescent, bubbling action physically carries it deeper into porous surfaces. It reaches the root structures that bleach cannot access and destroys them. The mold does not grow back because the organism itself has been eliminated rather than just trimmed at the surface. To apply this effectively, pour undiluted 3% hydrogen peroxide into a spray bottle. Saturate the affected area completely. Leave it in place for 10 to 15 minutes without disturbing it. The fizzing you observe during this time indicates active breakdown of mold cells. After the contact period, scrub the area using a stiff brush or cleaning cloth. Wipe it clean and inspect the area. For particularly stubborn spots, combining baking soda with the hydrogen peroxide can provide additional abrasive and chemical cleaning power. One important caution: do not mix hydrogen peroxide with vinegar. Some people believe this creates a powerful cleaning combination. In reality, the two substances react to form peracetic acid. This compound produces toxic fumes and can irritate your eyes, skin, and respiratory system. Use them separately on different occasions rather than together. Mold is not just cosmetically unpleasant. Research suggests that between 10 and 50% of North American homes have significant mold contamination, often in places people never check. Under sinks, behind appliances, inside wall cavities, and within HVAC systems are all common hiding spots. If the affected area exceeds approximately 10 square feet, roughly a 3 by 3 foot patch, the EPA advises consulting a professional rather than handling it yourself. For anything smaller, hydrogen peroxide is your best and cheapest ally. Point 3. Stopping ant invasions without toxic kitchen sprays. There are few domestic annoyances quite as frustrating as discovering an ant trail marching across your kitchen counter first thing in the morning. Ants are disciplined, organized, and persistent. Once they find a food source, they communicate its location to the rest of the colony using pheromone trails, invisible chemical pathways that guide hundreds or thousands of fellow ants directly to the same spot. Commercial ant sprays interrupt this process, but they do so using chemical compounds that many people understandably prefer not to spray near food preparation areas. Hydrogen peroxide offers a functional alternative that is both effective and non-toxic. The mechanism is direct. Hydrogen peroxide's oxidizing properties damage the outer exoskeleton of ants. It also disrupts their cellular biology internally. Ants that receive a direct application of hydrogen peroxide solution cannot survive the contact. Additionally, spraying hydrogen peroxide along the pheromone trails that ants leave behind helps break down those chemical signals. Without the trail to follow, other ants from the colony lose their navigational guide. The incoming stream of workers is disrupted. For application, if you are using standard 3% drugstore hydrogen peroxide, dilute it at a ratio of roughly 1 part peroxide to 2 parts water. Spray it directly on any visible ants. Apply it along the routes you have observed them traveling, including along baseboards, window ledges, or countertop edges. It is important to be clear about the limitation here. Hydrogen peroxide is a contact killer. It eliminates the ants it directly reaches. It does not penetrate the colony or eliminate the queen. For a persistent or large-scale ant infestation, bait traps that carry toxins back to the colony are more effective at long-term eradication. But for the casual kitchen ant situation, the one where you just need to stop the current invasion and disrupt their trail. Hydrogen peroxide is a fast, safe, and inexpensive first response. Point 4. Getting drain flies. Out of your pipes for good drain flies are one of those pests that people often fail to identify correctly. They are tiny, with fuzzy, moth-like wings. They tend to hover near bathroom and kitchen sinks. Many people assume they are fruit flies or some type of gnat. The actual culprit is the organic buildup inside your drain pipes. Inside any household drain, over time, a biofilm develops. This is a layer of decomposing grease, hair, soap scum, and food particles that coats the interior walls of the pipe. Drain flies breed specifically in this material. They lay their eggs in it, the larvae feed on it, and the adults emerge from it. By the time you notice drain flies in significant numbers, the breeding population inside your pipe is already well established. The standard solution that exterminators or plumbers might propose involves either chemical drain treatments or professional cleaning. Hydrogen peroxide handles this more simply. Pour approximately 1 cup of undiluted 3% hydrogen peroxide directly into the affected drain. You will hear fizzing as it reacts with the biofilm layer inside the pipe. This is the peroxide breaking down the organic material where eggs and larvae are residing. It kills the larvae on contact, while simultaneously dissolving the habitat they depend on. Leave it in place for at least an hour. Overnight, soaking produces better results. Follow up the next morning by flushing the drain with hot water. Repeat this process every day for approximately 1 week. This duration is important. Drain flies have a life cycle of around 2 weeks. You need to continue treating the drain long enough to catch multiple generations of eggs hatching. Once the infestation is cleared, weekly preventive treatments keep the biofilm from accumulating again. Clean pipes simply do not support drain fly breeding. This is the kind of maintenance habit that prevents the problem from ever returning. As a bonus, this treatment also eliminates the unpleasant odors that biofilm produces. If your drain has been emitting a musty or sour smell, the hydrogen peroxide will address that at the same time. If you are finding this information useful, take a second to like, leave a comment, and subscribe. It helps more people discover these practical tips. Point 5. Creating a mosquito barrier around your outdoor spaces. Few things disrupt an enjoyable evening outdoors as reliably as mosquitoes. They appear at exactly the wrong moment, buzzing around your ears and leaving itchy, inflamed bites. Chemical repellents exist in abundance, but many contain DEET or other compounds that people prefer to minimize, especially when children are present. Hydrogen peroxide presents a viable alternative for reducing mosquito pressure in specific outdoor areas. The preparation is simple. Combine equal parts 3% hydrogen peroxide and water in a spray bottle. Before spending time on your patio, deck, or backyard seating area, spray this mixture generously around the space. Apply it to furniture surfaces, the undersides of railings, shaded areas underneath tables, and any spots where mosquitoes tend to rest during warmer hours. Research published in peer-reviewed scientific literature has confirmed that hydrogen peroxide exhibits insecticidal properties against mosquitoes. Direct contact with the spray can kill mosquitoes that land on treated surfaces. The repellent effect also reduces the number that choose to enter the area in the first place. One limitation to understand is the lifespan of the treatment. Hydrogen peroxide degrades relatively quickly, particularly when exposed to sunlight. Ultraviolet light accelerates the breakdown of H2O2 into water and oxygen. This means the protective effect fades over time and requires reapplication, particularly after rain or prolonged sun exposure. Plan to spray roughly 30 minutes before your outdoor gathering. This gives the solution time to settle onto surfaces before you sit down. Additionally, mosquito control extends beyond just repelling adult insects. Mosquitoes require standing water to complete their reproductive cycle. Even a tiny quantity of stagnant water, a clogged gutter, a plant saucer, or a forgotten container is sufficient for egg laying. Adding a splash of hydrogen peroxide to standing water in your yard can kill mosquito larvae before they mature. Combine surface spraying with standing water treatment for a more comprehensive approach to mosquito reduction. Point 6. Protecting your garden from aphids and soft-bodied pests. Garden pests can undo weeks of careful cultivation in a very short period. Among the most destructive are aphids, spider mites, whiteflies, and mealybugs. These are all soft-bodied, sap-sucking insects that multiply rapidly and weaken plants by draining their nutrients. The conventional response is a commercial pesticide. These products work, but they come with significant trade-offs. They frequently harm beneficial insects, including bees and ladybugs, which are essential for pollination and natural pest control. They can contaminate soil over repeated applications. On vegetables and herbs, chemical residue on edible portions is a legitimate concern. Hydrogen peroxide addresses this class of pests effectively with none of those downsides. Mix 1 tablespoon of 3% hydrogen peroxide into 1 gallon of water. Transfer this mixture to a spray bottle. Apply it to affected plants, making sure to coat both the upper and lower surfaces of all leaves. Soft-bodied insects lack the thick, waxy protective coating that harder insects possess. The oxidizing action of hydrogen peroxide penetrates their cell membranes directly on contact. For soil-dwelling species like root aphids, use the same 1:4 dilution described in the fungus gnat section. Apply it as a soil drench to target eggs and larvae living below the surface. There is an additional benefit. Many pest infestations, particularly aphids, are accompanied by fungal infections. Aphids excrete a sticky substance called honeydew, which promotes the growth of sooty mold on plant surfaces. Hydrogen peroxide spray addresses both problems simultaneously. It eliminates the insects and kills the fungal growth they leave behind. Apply during early morning or late evening hours. Direct sunlight combined with hydrogen peroxide on leaf surfaces can cause minor leaf burn on some sensitive plant varieties. A spot test on a single leaf, followed by a day of observation, is a sensible precaution before treating an entire plant. Point 7. Safely disinfecting. After rodent activity, discovering signs of rodent activity in your home is deeply unpleasant. Finding droppings behind the stove or in a cabinet drawer triggers a very reasonable desire to clean the area as quickly as possible. Most people grab whatever cleaning product is nearest and start wiping things down immediately. This instinct, while understandable, can actually create a health risk. The danger from rodent contamination is not just the mess itself. Mouse and rat droppings, urine, and nesting material can harbor serious pathogens. These include hantavirus, salmonella, and leptospirosis, all of which can cause significant illness in humans. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention specifically warns against sweeping or vacuuming dry rodent droppings. Doing so aerosolizes contaminated particles, sending them into the air where they can be inhaled. The CDC recommends disinfecting the area before attempting any physical removal. Hydrogen peroxide is well suited for this purpose. It is classified as a broad-spectrum antimicrobial. This means it is effective against bacteria, viruses, and fungi, covering the full range of potential pathogens associated with rodent contamination. Begin by putting on rubber gloves and a protective mask before entering the contaminated area. Spray the droppings and the entire surrounding surface thoroughly with 3% hydrogen peroxide. Allow it to remain in contact for a minimum of 5 minutes. During this time, the disinfecting action is occurring. Use paper towels to carefully collect the material and the surrounding contamination. Place all of it into a sealed plastic bag for disposal. Spray the area a second time and allow it to air dry completely. This cleanup procedure is something you can handle confidently on your own. You do not need a professional sanitation crew for this specific task. The hydrogen peroxide provides the same antimicrobial protection that commercial disinfectants offer, at a fraction of the cost. Point 8. Eliminating thrips before they destroy your houseplants. Thrips are a pest that most people encounter before they ever learn the name. These are extremely small insects, barely visible without magnification, that attack both indoor and outdoor plants. They feed by puncturing individual plant cells and extracting the contents. The damage they leave is distinctive. Affected leaves develop a silvery or bronze streaking. Foliage may curl or become distorted. Tiny black specks of excrement appear on leaf surfaces. The plant progressively weakens as feeding continues across its surface area. What makes thrips particularly challenging is their reproductive speed. A population can expand dramatically within a short period. They also move easily between plants, so an untreated infestation on one plant will often spread to neighboring ones. Professional pest control for thrips can involve multiple treatment visits using commercial insecticides. Hydrogen peroxide offers a significantly more affordable path to the same outcome. Prepare a solution of equal parts 3% hydrogen peroxide and water. Apply this to the soil surface of the affected plant, ensuring the top inch or so is thoroughly soaked. This targets eggs and larvae that are present in the soil between life stages. Repeat this soil treatment once per week. For the adult thrips on leaf surfaces, first use a shower or garden hose to physically dislodge them. A strong stream of water knocks a substantial portion of them off the plant. Follow this rinse with a light misting of the hydrogen peroxide solution on all leaf surfaces. Consistency matters tremendously with thrips control. Their life cycle moves quickly. Weekly treatments must be maintained until all visible signs have disappeared and remained absent for at least 2 treatment cycles. You are doing great. Keep reading. And if you are enjoying this, please like the video, drop a comment below, and subscribe so you do not miss the next one. Point 9. Reducing flea populations in your home environment. Finding fleas in your home is a particularly exhausting pest problem. Unlike many other household insects, fleas are physically resilient, reproduce at extraordinary speed, and can survive for extended periods without a host. By the time you notice them, they have typically already established themselves throughout your soft furnishings. Professional flea treatment often involves chemical sprays applied throughout living spaces. These treatments can be effective, but expose everyone in the household to residual chemicals during and after the process. Costs for professional flea treatment can reach into the hundreds of dollars. Hydrogen peroxide cannot replace a comprehensive flea management strategy on its own, but it plays a meaningful and practical role within that strategy, particularly in treating the home environment rather than the pet. Fleas have a tough outer shell called a cuticle, but hydrogen peroxide's oxidizing action compromises this protective layer. Disrupting the cuticle causes dehydration, which is fatal to the insect. More importantly, hydrogen peroxide is also effective against flea eggs, which are the component of an infestation that most people fail to adequately address. Adult fleas represent only a small percentage of the total flea population in an infested home at any given time. The majority of the population exists as eggs, larvae, and pupae in carpeting, bedding, and upholstery. Eliminating only the adult fleas produces temporary relief, followed by a new wave of adults hatching from those untreated eggs. Add hydrogen peroxide to your laundry when washing pet bedding, human bedding, blankets, and any washable fabrics that might harbor eggs. Spray a diluted solution of equal parts, 3% hydrogen peroxide, and water onto carpet surfaces, upholstered furniture, and along baseboards where fleas tend to deposit eggs. A complete home treatment strategy should include thorough vacuuming of all carpeted surfaces and upholstery before applying hydrogen peroxide. Vacuuming mechanically removes a significant number of adult fleas, larvae, and eggs. Immediately after vacuuming, seal the vacuum bag or empty the canister into a sealed bag and remove it from your home. Otherwise, any captured fleas will simply escape back into the environment. Repeat this combined vacuuming and hydrogen peroxide treatment every few days for a minimum of 2 to 3 weeks. This extended timeline accounts for the flea life cycle and ensures you are addressing newly hatching generations before they mature and reproduce. One firm caution: never apply hydrogen peroxide directly to your dog, cat, or any other pet. It is irritating to animal skin and mucous membranes and is not appropriate as an on-animal treatment. Consult a veterinarian for safe, effective on-animal flea control options and use hydrogen peroxide exclusively for treating the home environment. Point 10. Preventing pest problems. Before they begin, everything covered so far involves responding to a pest problem that is already developed. But one of the most valuable uses of hydrogen peroxide is as a preventive measure that stops infestations from gaining a foothold in the first place. Most pests require specific conditions to survive and reproduce. Fungus gnats need moist, organically rich soil. Drainflies need biofilm inside pipes. Mold needs moisture and organic surfaces. Aphids proliferate on plants that are already stressed. Hydrogen peroxide disrupts all of these conditions when applied regularly as a maintenance routine, rather than only as a crisis response. Consider incorporating weekly hydrogen peroxide applications into your household routines. Pour a small amount down your drains each week to prevent biofilm from accumulating. This removes the breeding substrate for drainflies before a population ever establishes itself. Apply a diluted soil drench to your houseplants on a rotation. This keeps larval populations from building up even when you cannot see any adult gnats. Spray diluted hydrogen peroxide on bathroom tiles and grout as part of your regular cleaning. This prevents mold spores from establishing colonies on those surfaces. Wipe down kitchen counters with a diluted solution after food preparation. This reduces the organic material that attracts and sustains ant scouting activity. Preventive maintenance requires less product, less effort, and less time than remediation. A small weekly investment of hydrogen peroxide keeps conditions unfavorable for pests throughout your home, rather than forcing you to mount a response after a full infestation has developed. Point 11. Using hydrogen peroxide to deodorize pest-related odors. This is an application that often gets overlooked in discussions of hydrogen peroxide as a pest control tool. Beyond killing the organisms themselves, hydrogen peroxide also addresses the odors that pest activity leaves behind. Rodent urine has a strong, persistent, ammonia-like smell that can permeate an area long after the rodents themselves have been removed. Drain flies are accompanied by the sour, musty odor of the biofilm they breed in. Mold produces its own distinctive musty scent that many people find deeply unpleasant, and that can indicate poor indoor air quality. Hydrogen peroxide neutralizes organic odors through the same oxidizing process it uses to kill biological organisms. Spraying it on surfaces where rodent activity occurred, pouring it down malodorous drains, and applying it to mold-affected areas all have a deodorizing effect, alongside the disinfecting and pest-killing benefits. This makes hydrogen peroxide uniquely multifunctional. A single product simultaneously addresses the pest, the health risk, and the smell. Most commercial products target only one of these three problems, requiring you to purchase multiple items to address all three aspects of a pest situation. For persistent odors, particularly rodent urine that is soaked into wood or drywall, multiple applications may be necessary. Apply the hydrogen peroxide, allow it to fully dry, and assess the remaining odor. Repeat as needed until the smell has been neutralized. Point 12. Disinfecting garden tools to prevent the spread of plant disease. This application bridges the gap between pest control and plant health in a way that is rarely discussed. Many plant diseases and pest infestations spread from one plant to another through contaminated garden tools. If you prune an aphid-infested plant and then use the same shears on a healthy plant without cleaning them, you transfer both the pests and any associated fungal or bacterial pathogens. Commercial horticultural disinfectants exist for this purpose, but are unnecessary when hydrogen peroxide is available. After working with any plant showing signs of pest activity, disease, or fungal infection, wipe your pruning shears, trowels, and other tools with undiluted 3% hydrogen peroxide. Allow the tools to sit for a few minutes before rinsing or drying them. This kills any microbial or pest material on the tool surfaces, preventing cross-contamination to healthy plants. It is a simple habit that takes less than a minute and can prevent the spread of an infestation that might otherwise require significant time and money to address. Apply the same principle to plant pots. When reusing a pot that previously held a pest-infested or diseased plant, spray the interior thoroughly with hydrogen peroxide before planting anything new in it. Eggs, spores, and microbial pathogens can survive in empty pots for extended periods and reinfect the next plant placed inside. Almost done. If you have learned something new today, take a second to like this video, leave a comment, and subscribe. Your support makes a real difference. A few important safety reminders. Before applying any of these techniques, a few safety considerations deserve clear emphasis. Always use 3% hydrogen peroxide for all household applications. This is the concentration sold at pharmacies and grocery stores in the brown or dark-colored bottle. It is specifically formulated for safe domestic use. Higher concentrations, such as 35% food-grade hydrogen peroxide, exist for specialized applications. These require careful handling, precise dilution, and appropriate protective equipment. They are not necessary for any of the uses described in this guide. Keep hydrogen peroxide away from your eyes and mouth. Although 3% is safe at this concentration, direct eye contact causes irritation. If you are using it in quantity or in confined spaces, consider wearing gloves, particularly if you have sensitive skin. Store your hydrogen peroxide correctly. Light exposure degrades it over time, reducing its effectiveness. Keep it in a cool, dark location, a cabinet or drawer away from windows. The original dark bottle it comes in is designed to minimize light exposure. Once opened, use it within a reasonable time frame, rather than letting it sit for extended periods. Never combine hydrogen peroxide with vinegar, bleach, or other cleaning chemicals without researching the interaction first. Some combinations produce corrosive or toxic compounds that are genuinely hazardous. Finally, understand the appropriate boundaries of this approach. Hydrogen peroxide is an excellent tool for small to moderate pest situations and for prevention. It is not a substitute for professional intervention when dealing with structural infestations, large-scale mold problems, dangerous pests such as venomous spiders or termites, or any situation involving potential structural damage to your home. Use it wisely within those boundaries, and it will serve you extraordinarily well. The bottom line. The pest control industry has a clear financial interest in keeping people dependent on professional services and commercial products. Some of that dependency is warranted. Serious problems require serious solutions, and licensed professionals have tools and expertise that go well beyond what any household product can offer. But a very significant portion of the pest nuisances that affect people daily are well within the reach of a $1 bottle of hydrogen peroxide. Fungus gnats in your houseplants, drain flies breeding in your pipes, ants crossing your kitchen counter, aphids weakening your garden vegetables, mold spreading across your bathroom grout, flea eggs embedded in your carpet fibers, thrips attacking your favorite indoor plant, rodent contamination in your cabinets. All of these are situations where hydrogen peroxide can play a central, effective role, without toxic residue, without dangerous fumes, without a substantial financial outlay. The extra oxygen atom in H2O2 is one of the most versatile tools in your home. The brown bottle that has been sitting forgotten in your medicine cabinet might just be the most underutilized purchase you have ever made. Give it a try, and you will likely find yourself reaching for it far more often than you ever expected.